Well, good Saturday morning, I should say. Now at this time, it's 1:30. We promised that we would hop right back on air to let you all know the latest with regards to Delta. If you missed the 1 o'clock update that we provided right before we at least took a temporary break, at least Delta has now been downgraded to a tropical storm. So as it continues to move through our area, we've been seeing tropical storm force winds at times, at least near the center. The National Hurricane Center is reporting 60-mile-an-hour winds with this. Good news is it continues to haul off towards the north-northeast at 15 miles per hour. And I want to circle back to this imagery that we're seeing here on our satellite. Seeing a little bit of convection actually developing now along the Mississippi River. Delta, what are you doing here? That's just kind of the, at least, consensus that we're getting here in the Weather Center. It is really just falling apart here on our satellite imagery, but now new convection is developing within the closer to the center of the system. So at this point, well, Delta's going to do what Delta's going to do, and we're seeing the side effects of this across the Arklamis this morning as those winds continue to whip across our area. Right now, the center of Delta continues to push into our area. You can see now moving into portions of Grant and LaSalle parishes at this time, and we're still seeing 36-mile-an-hour sustained winds here in the Ouachita Parish, Twin Cities, Monroe area as the center is starting to get closer to us. Still seeing a lot of the stronger winds too, concentrated along and east of this area as well. Not seeing very strong winds off towards the north and west. Those folks generally in the clear, but this wind certainly causing issues across our area as each hour kind of evolves here as we're starting to see more power outages racking up. Not sure if we're starting to get more tree damage on that, but we'll check in on that in just a little bit. So I'm going to throw this over to meteorologist Lexi Birmingham now, and she's been checking in with the National Weather Service here from time to time too. Lexi, do you by chance have any updates to pass along to folks?
Well, when I was looking at the chat here, really haven't seen too many updates in the ways of report damage from either Shreveport or Jackson. I know that Jackson has been reporting wind gusts in their area around the city of Jackson with a 41-mile-per-hour wind gust, but again, that is not in our viewing area, so we won't worry too much about that. I did want to go ahead and give you guys an update on these power outages because as anticipated, they have grown just a little bit, especially here in Ouachita Parish. Looks like power outages now are up to just over 15,000 customers affected. Off towards Lincoln Parish, there's about 270. Down towards Grant Parish, 500, just about 600. And then off towards LaSalle, we have 253. So again, it looks like Ouachita Parish is seeing the most power outages, or at least the most customers affected at this time. And again, we did get in on some pretty gusty winds in our previous update. We did have a report of a 15-mile-per-hour wind gust here in Ouachita Parish, specifically the Twin Cities. And we did have a 54-mile-per-hour wind gust off towards Natchez, which again, as you're looking at your screen here, has a 39-mile-per-hour current wind at this time.
So yeah, we're still seeing fairly strong winds across our area as Delta's center at least starts to move through our area. Good news is, though, we are starting to see these numbers coming down a little bit from where we were just about an hour or so ago. That should reflect some of the weakening here as this system continues to kind of fall apart. But nonetheless, I know a lot of folks are probably awake right now. A lot of folks are without power, and a lot of folks will continue to lose power here as we go through the course of the next few hours. So I know meteorologist Lexi Birmingham just listed off some of the numbers for folks losing power, and at least damage reports are minimal at this time. So somewhat good news there, at least for the time being. So again, we're just going to kind of hang up on air a little bit longer here just to kind of provide the latest updates to you all and just kind of show you what we're dealing with. Again, the center of Delta not necessarily expected to get out of our area until what, later this morning into the early afternoon, right?
It definitely seems like, you know, it's still on that northeasterly track, so we're probably looking at another couple of hours of seeing the center of circulation moving across the Arklamis. And again, as anticipated, it was around and east of the circulation that did have that potential of seeing more of that tropical storm-like features, including those gusty winds and, of course, that heavy rainfall. And again, that rainfall has also been a big concern on top of those winds. So we'll go ahead and zoom out, take a look at our region here. Looks like the winds are slowly beginning to calm down across the south and southwestern portions of Louisiana. again, where when Delta was a hurricane, a Category 2 hurricane at this time early evening, that it did move across the southern portions of Louisiana. And now we're beginning to see those winds. They were picking up a little bit, but now luckily it looks like they are dropping back off with the weakening of the system. So let's go ahead and take a look at these wind gusts. We won't worry too much about our surrounding areas, but we'll go ahead and zoom into our viewing area. Like we said, we did have about a 59-mile-per-hour wind gust reported in Monroe in our previous update between noon and 1 o'clock, and now it looks like it's up to down to, I should say, 46-mile-per-hour wind gust. Still seeing a strong wind gust, however, in Natchez with 54 miles per hour, and Vicksburg is currently still seeing wind gusts anywhere from 40 to 41 miles per hour. Again, most of the weaker winds, I guess you could say, the weaker winds with the storm are going to be off towards our west and off towards the northwest, because again, they're on a little bit of that western side of the storm, which we like to call basically the dry side, which is a little bit more calmer conditions, I guess you could say, but I use that term very, very lightly because, again, 22-mile-per-hour wind gusts are still able to create some wind damage, including uprooting trees and, of course, causing those power outages. Hopefully, you are not out on the roads, if you know anyone who's out on the roads, hopefully you're not out there, because these wind gusts, again, are very dangerous. And of course, like we mentioned, we have been getting numerous reports of trees down on roadways. I do believe we did have a report along Highway 127 in LaSalle Parish near an intersection with Bellevue Road that had some trees uprooted. And I do believe there was another report near Moffett Road, I think it was, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, that had some trees down as well. I want to go ahead and switch to the live storm tracker Doppler radar. Again, still seeing some very moderate to heavy rainfall, and you can just hear the winds here at the West Monroe TV station. Again, most of the heavier and moderate rainfall currently across most of the central and northern half of the Arklamas. We definitely see that across Ouachita Parish, and now we're beginning to see a little bit more of that across Union and Morehouse, and even into Franklin Parish, even down towards our south. We still have a couple of flash flood warnings in place that continue until 3:15, and those have really been the only flash flood warnings we have seen so far. We really haven't seen the more issued up towards our north, and again, we have been looking at the rainfall totals that we've seen. I know some areas have received at least 6 inches of rainfall, maybe some areas up to about 10, which again was anticipated, especially across our southern and eastern parishes, where we did predict most of those areas would see at least 6 inches or greater of that rainfall. Another thing that we really haven't seen, tornado warnings, so which is a very good thing. Again, it's been mostly about those winds, but these winds have been very severe thunderstorm-like, even though no severe thunderstorms have been issued. But again, this is what we would normally see in a April severe thunderstorm event, would be winds anywhere from 40 to 60 miles per hour or even greater. But again, we weren't really too concerned about that tornado potential. Again, we're not going to completely rule it out. A quick spin-up could still be possible, but I think most of this is going to, most of the tornado activity possible is going to be taking place off towards our neighbors and east of the Mississippi River. So I think it's going to be more about those winds and rainfall, at least for us here in the Arklamas. I'm going to go ahead and back up and kind of go over what we're currently seeing here in the Arklamas. Again, we're seeing some wind gusts here. I do apologize. I hit the wrong button. So I'm going to go ahead and reset this real quick. Here's a look at our. Yeah, go ahead, Brian. Okay. But anyway, here's a look at our temperatures. And again, they really haven't been budging too much, especially with the rainfall and everything. But Brian's going to go ahead and set me up real quick here again. So if you're just now tuning in, we're just doing a quick overview of what we're currently seeing with 1:30. Again, if you're just now tuning in, we now have Tropical Storm Delta did get downgraded with the 1 a.m. update from the National Hurricane Center, and we're still watching that center circulation, which I think at this point is now officially in our viewing area. You can see that across Grant and LaSalle parishes, and you can see that counterclockwise rotation. Again, winds are slowly beginning to weaken, but they still remain rather strong, and I'm pretty sure you can hear that for sure. 36-mile-per-hour winds in Monroe, 39 in Natchez, which is very close to tropical storm strength. Actually, Natchez is about tropical storm strength. 24 in Vicksburg and 18 up towards Vicksburg, and again, not seeing as much windy conditions up towards the northwest, only about 8 in El Dorado and 10 for Camden. So we'll go ahead and kind of skip over this, take a look at these wind gusts again, and very similar to our winds, they have backed off just a little bit. We did see a 59-mile-per-hour wind gust in Monroe with our previous update between noon and between midnight, I should say. I think I've been saying noon a lot. Midnight and 1 o'clock in the morning with a 46-mile-per-hour wind gust. I mean, we're still seeing about 54 in Natchez. I think that could be just a little bit lower. But of course, with it being on the eastern side of the center of circulation, it very well could still be seeing wind gusts up to about that speed. And we're still seeing about a 41-mile-per-hour wind gust in Vicksburg. 33 in Greenville, not seeing as much wind gusts up towards South Arkansas at this time. So again, let's go ahead and take one last look at that live storm tracker Doppler radar, and then I'm going to toss it to Brian with maybe an update on those power outages. Again, we're currently seeing most of the moderate rainfall across, I would say, right smack that bullseye in the middle of the Arklamas here. We do see that across Ouachita Parish into Richland and Franklin parishes, and then we're beginning to see more of that across Union and Morehouse parishes. We also still have these flash flood warnings in place, which again have really been the only warnings we've seen so far since this storm started rolling in. Again, we still do have those tropical storm warnings in place until Saturday afternoon or further notice. And then, of course, some good chunk of the Arklamas remains under that flash flood watch. But these flash flood warnings continue until about 3:15 in the morning. So I'm going to toss it to Brian. Any updates with any damage or any power outages? Go ahead.
Let's see here. So I'm going to flip this over just to kind of bring you up to speed. I am on Facebook Live on our KTVE KRD Facebook page. Some folks have been requesting that we go live just because they are losing power. They can't see us over the air. So we actually have
all right, very good.
Over 1,000 people watching right now. I don't know if you want to hold on to this or
we'll go ahead and
kind of
switch.
In the meantime.
Yeah. We'll go ahead and switch.
But we'll provide an update here as far as some power outages that we have across our area. They've been racking up pretty quickly, folks. So at least the latest update shows that Ouachita Parish still takes the cake with the highest amount of outages. We're up to 16,000 outages now in Ouachita Parish alone, I believe. Still holding at 1,600 in Caldwell. We are now at 1,400 outages in Jackson Parish. We are still at over 2,000 in Wynn Parish. Starting to see more higher numbers though filtering in. Grant Parish is getting close to 6. It looks like Morehouse Parish now is over 3,500 people without power. So again, folks are losing that power quickly across our area. Now Tensas is over 1,000 people without power. So it's one of those situations where we're losing the power here as some more of those trees come down, kind of knock out the power lines and things like that. As far as damage reports, let me see if the Weather Service is talking about that. Let me click on the right thing here.
And I know some of you are asking about the warnings on your screen here. Those are flash flood warnings and they go until 3:15. So I know a lot of you are trying to get the information out for other folks. Those are flash flood warnings that continue until 3:15. And that's really the only flash flood warnings we have seen so far as the system has rolled across the Arklamas.
So yeah, at least the National Weather Service thankfully has not been sending really too many damage reports our way, at least the updates of damage reports. So that's some encouraging news. We're not seeing a lot of damage being done, at least right now. If you guys are seeing anything, if you could safely report, that certainly helps the National Weather Service with their job. They're able to assess that damage a little bit better. So if you can report some of this damage, definitely would be very, very helpful to our area as we start to kind of get a better idea of what exactly Delta is doing to us. But again, we're still online, still on air. We might hop off here in a little bit, and we're going to continue to kind of just do this, jump in and out of updates through the night as this system continues to move through. But we're starting to see signs pointing at least in the right direction that things are weakening and that things are quote unquote somewhat improving across our area as Delta starts to move out. But it's just so interesting, Lexi, to see that convection starting to really flare up, especially across the eastern portions of our area. Now the circulation is moving through.
Yeah, he's talking about this little area right here that you're going to see pop up right here. It's a little bit of convection associated with the storm, and that's not completely out of the ordinary with these tropical systems. Sometimes they'll weaken and all of a sudden you'll just get this bubble of convection that will pop up. Again, it's just a rather large storm-like structure. That's basically all tropical storms are. And if you're just go ahead and giving you an overview, the 1 a.m. update did come out about 30 minutes ago, 30 to 45 minutes ago. Delta is now officially a tropical storm with maximum sustained winds of 60 miles per hour, moving to the northeast at about 15. So again, still a very quick moving system, but like we mentioned, it's not looking as pretty as it was early this morning or over the last couple of days. In fact, it was starting to lose its structure as it was moving closer to landfall early on Friday evening, as it made landfall as a Category 2 storm near Creole, Louisiana. So it did interact with some of those cooler waters, and then that's when we started to see it feed in some of that drier air and some of that shear, which again is not hurricane friendly. So that's why it started to lose a little bit of its structure and a little bit of its strength, I guess you could say, because it was a major Category 3 hurricane early on this morning, but of course it was expected to weaken to a Category 2 before landfall, and that's pretty much what happened. Let's go ahead and take a look at those winds one more time. Again, there's that center of circulation located across Grant and LaSalle Parish, again just to the north of Alexandria. We're still seeing 36-mile-per-hour winds in Monroe, 25 in Greenville, and 24 for folks in Vicksburg. Right now, the only real ones we see at current tropical storm-like characteristics is Monroe and Natchez. And again, this is east of the circulation, which again is what we were anticipating when the storm was going to move through, and why the majority of those tropical storm warnings were issued for Ouachita Parish along east of I-20 into Morehouse and the Carroll parishes and down towards the south as well. Zooming out, again, we're seeing those winds beginning to lighten up just a little bit back off towards the south, but again, they're beginning to weaken here, but they're still staying rather strong here for the Arklamas. One last look at those wind gusts. We'll go ahead and zoom in here. 46-mile-per-hour wind gust in Monroe, very tropical storm-like, and 54 in Natchez, 41 in Vicksburg. Not seeing as much wind gust again up towards South Arkansas or even off towards our west, but even then, a 22-mile-per-hour wind gust can still cause some wind damage, uproot some trees, down some power lines, and like we mentioning over, looks like the numbers of, that was a big one, big gust here at the NBC 10 Fox 14 studio. The numbers are continuing to increase little by little, and so far I do believe that Ouachita Parish now has about over 15,000 power outages, and so far that's the most, at least here in the Arklamas at this time.
So yeah, what we're probably going to do here is we're probably going to hop off the air just for a little bit. What time is it now?
It is about 1:47.
Okay, so what we'll probably do is we'll probably do another update closer to about 2:15, maybe around 2:30-ish. Again, I know it sounds menacing outside. There's a lot of rain, a lot of wind going on. And again, we're just going to continue to keep on top of the information that keeps flowing into our weather station here. And we're going to continue to give you guys updates. But until then, as mentioned earlier, we're just going to be kind of hopping in and out of air and providing updates. So again, I want to emphasize, folks, this is about as bad as it's going to get. Winds will continue to very gradually slow down in intensity through the remainder of the morning, especially closer to sunrise as the center gets closer to us. So it's encouraging news. Again, this is not what we saw with Laura. Just want to emphasize that. It's a very different storm. It's got different characteristics, different wind speeds, and everything. I know some folks are asking when it's going to be out of our area. Should be out of our area by tomorrow, or I guess later today, the Saturday evening. Because again, I have no concept of what time it is currently, but closer to this evening, that's when we will see generally this center getting out of our area. Until then, though, once it starts to really die down, that's when we will be able to at least get a break here. But until then, we're going to continue to keep you updated online and on air as best as we possibly can to keep you updated on the latest conditions. And in addition to continuing to share with the power situation and some of the damage reports. So I think it's probably best to hop off at least for air. Lexi, unless there's anything else final that you'd like to add.
Nothing too new. I'll just give you one last look at our live storm tracker Doppler radar, kind of give you guys an idea of where the heaviest rainfall is currently located. And again, once you see those yellow and oranges, that's where we start to see more of that moderate to heavier rainfall. So that's stretching across most of the central half of I-20, at least for our viewing area, and then areas up towards the north, even beginning to see a little bit of some moderate rainfall off towards Columbia and Washita counties. And again, we still have flash flood warnings in place for Wynne, Grant, LaSalle, Catahoula, and Concordia parishes until 3:15 a.m. So again, we'll be getting on the air once again, most likely around 2:15, and we'll continue to do this throughout the rest of the day as Tropical Storm Delta at this time continues to move across the Arklamas. So we'll be here to keep you guys advised. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you in a little bit.